In the summer of 2000, an Irish whirlwind landed in Glasgow, one that would transform Celtic and help begin the club's 21st century dominance. Martin O'Neill was lured from England's top league to come and sit in the Celtic Park hot seat, becoming the 13th man to hold this job on a permanent basis. Over the coming years, O'Neill would help rebuild the Hoops. Despite the club having won the 1998 league title, they had very much been in Rangers' shadow since the late 1980s. This is the story of the change that Martin O'Neill brought to Celtic Park. O'Neill's appointment was a real statement of intent for the Celts. He had managed in England for a number of years, achieving particular success with Leicester, where he won the 1997 and 2000 League Cups. The Irishman had also been a renowned player. He enjoyed massive success with Nottingham Forest, helping them win 2 European Cups, the Super Cup, the English First Division and 2 League Cups. He also captained Northern Ireland in the 1982 World Cup finals. Within weeks of his arrival at Celtic Park, it was evident that Celtic were going to be a very different proposition. The club invested in several expensive and high-quality signings, such as Chris Sutton, Neil Lennon, Alan Thompson and Yusuf Harden. The cheaper signing of Didier Agathe also proved to be profoundly important too. And then came what can only be described as an on-field earthquake. Celtic started the 2000-2001 season well. They won 6 successive games in the league and Europe. However, on the 27th of August 2000, Rangers came to Glasgow's East End, providing the first major test of the season. To say that Celtic started well is a huge understatement. They took the lead in the opening seconds and were 3 ahead within 11 minutes. By the time the full-time whistle sounded, the Hoops had hammered the Ibrox side 6-2, including a celebrated Henrik Larsson chipped goal. It was clear this was going to be a Hoops side unlike any seen for many a season. Martin O'Neill later described this match as arguably the most important of his Celtic career, on the basis that it gave his team the confidence to go on and achieve everything that they did under his leadership. The boys swatted aside all domestic competition in that first season. They secured the league title, Scottish Cup and League Cup. Henrik Larsson was a particular success. His 53 goals secured for him the Golden Boot as top scorer in Europe. And to place this achievement in context, this was only the 3rd time that the boys had ever won the treble. It was the first time it had happened in more than 3 decades, and the first time that a Celtic manager other than Jock Stein had done it. O'Neill's maiden season had set a marker for fan expectations. Celtic wanted to build on this domestic success, ensuring a legacy of dominance. However, they also hoped the club would make its mark on the continent, succeeding in UEFA competitions too. His second season, in 2001-02, would again show Celtic to be Scotland's top side, albeit not quite as dominant as the previous year. It would also see an impressive European effort, one of the best the club had enjoyed in many years. The campaign started with some important transfer business. John Hartson arrived, building on an already impressive set of attacking options, and defensively, strength and height were added to the defence through Bobo Baldé. Domestically, the Celts swatted aside league opposition. They broke the 100 points mark and eventually finished 18 points ahead of their nearest rivals. This same success wasn't evident in the Cups though, and it was the Ibrox men that twice defeated them. Celtic lost to Rangers in the semi-final of the League Cup and then fell to an injury time goal in the Scottish Cup final. In Europe, fans enjoyed some significant victories under O'Neill's leadership. The Celts faced Ajax in the final qualifying round of the Champions League, and a very impressive showing, which included a 3-1 victory in the Netherlands, helped them win the tie. This led to Celtic's first experience of the Champions League. Although they lost the home leg of the Ajax qualifying tie, it was the form at Celtic Park that was most impressive. The boys beat Rosenborg, Porto and Juventus at home, but unfortunately defeat in all the away matches meant they exited the competition. This whetted fan appetites for an even better European showing in 2002-03. Instead, the season started poorly, going to show you can never predict exactly what's going to happen. Celtic failed to reach the Champions League, losing out on away goals to FC Basel of Switzerland. Dropping into the UEFA Cup was a notable black mark against O'Neill, It left fans wondering what continental excitement would lie ahead. Domestically, this was Martin's least successful season as Celtic boss. Despite the fact it went to a final day title shootout, Celtic failed to win any Scottish trophy. The most controversial of these moments came in the League Cup final. Celtic were 2-1 down against Rangers, and a clearly onside goal by John Hartson was wrongly ruled out, which led to an Old Firm defeat. The European experience was eventually much more upbeat. Celtic began to progress through the rounds of the UEFA Cup, beating firstly Sudova and then Blackburn. A more tricky trip to Spain still saw Celtic progress against Celta Vigo. Regardless of the stature of opponent, nothing seemed able to stop the Celts. They firstly overcame Stuttgart, then had a famous win at Anfield, disposing of Liverpool. A semi-final against Boavista went to the wire, but saw the Hoops reach their first European final in more than 3 decades, and their third overall. Sunny Seville was the scene for this match, and tens of thousands of Celtic fans made the Spanish journey. However, a spirited performance was not enough, as the boys lost 3-2 after extra time to Jose Mourinho's Porto. At least the fans' actions were rewarded, as Celtic received a special UEFA award in recognition of this. Although season 2002-03 had been full of many highs and memorable moments, the club had still failed to secure any silverware. It was essential in the next season to rectify this, a goal that was certainly achieved. A dominant league performance, when Celtic finished 17 points clear of Rangers, meant that another title was added to the honours list. And then the Hoops came from behind in the Scottish Cup final to secure another double. The Celts' European experience was again a combination of success and disappointment. A last game defeat in Lyon meant that Celtic dropped out the Champions League into the UEFA Cup. Following this, they disposed of Barcelona over 2 legs, but then went out to Villarreal. At the start of season 2004-05, it was difficult to see how the season would end. Despite high hopes and winning some silverware, it ended with a huge sense of disappointment, alongside O'Neill's Celtic Park departure. And all of this was done alongside football being of limited importance. Rangers overcame Celtic in the League Cup quarter-finals, but in the league the Celts seemed assured of triumph. They went to Fir Park on the final day needing just a win to be champions. However, 2 late Scott McDonald goals created for this the title of Black Sunday, and the Hoops fell to defeat. Many assigned this to the surprising announcement of Martin O'Neill's departure. With his wife facing illness, the Irishman had decided to resign and look after her. This was announced in the run-up to the final league game. Even Scottish Cup victory the week after Black Sunday could not shake the sense of disappointment that surrounded the club. Martin O'Neill ended up being out of football for more than a year. However, after that he continued his very successful English experience, where he spent 4 productive years as Aston Villa boss, reaching another League Cup final. He then had 2 years at Sunderland. Arguably his most notable spell after Celtic came not in domestic football, but instead at international level. In November 2013, he was appointed manager of the Republic of Ireland, working alongside another former Celt, Roy Keane. He spent a number of years in charge of Ayr before leaving in 2019. This led to him having a short-lived spell in charge of Nottingham Forest, the club where he had achieved such success as a player. Out with playing and managing football, O'Neill had various interests. He was well known as a TV pundit and also started a law degree at Queen's University in Belfast. Each fan will have their own opinion about Celtic's most significant managers. However, O'Neill stands out significantly in this regard, especially when analysing the Celts' performance and achievements in the 21st century. In many ways, he can be considered a Fergus McCann appointment. Although McCann had left by the summer of 2000, it was his steps in building a modern Celtic that allowed for the hiring of a figure of O'Neill's stature. Given the boys' 21st century dominance, it may be difficult for younger fans to understand the extent to which the Hoops were behind their Ibrox rivals in the latter years of the 20th century. Martin O'Neill changed that by building a team that did not simply dominate in Scotland, but resurrected the club's European reputation too. He is an iconic and critical figure in the Celtic story. If you want to learn more about Celtic history, follow Hail Hail History on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can also participate in free Celtic walking tours. Visit celticwalkingtours.wordpress.com for more information.